Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures Miniature Review Show. On today's show we're looking at a moderately recent release from Warlord Games. Now these are Warlord's first Napoleonic range of figures, produced for their Black Powder rules, and these are actually Prussian Landwehr. Now I must admit, when I received these I thought, oh wait, these look interesting. I had a look at the box art and everything, and it's all fairly standard for Warlord stuff. They look really good. And then I opened the packet and kind of went, oh, that wasn't quite what I was expecting. As you can see, the pack comes with 3 metal figures, and then 3 packs, each of 9 figures. Now the thing I wasn't expecting is that every single Warlord plastic infantry kit I've currently seen has been self-assembly, and therefore you've had to assemble the miniatures. In this particular set, everything comes ready assembled. So rather than having to build the figures yourselves, it comes with 27 cast in 1 plastic minis and then 3 metal minis. As I say, not quite what I was expecting. So, first off you have the pamphlet that comes with the figures. It gives an explanation of who and what the Landwehr were. You've got a nice selection of flags. You've also got a painting guide, in particular with identification of different regiments, and some more historical notes about the unit. So, a nice informative package there. And then we come on to the figures themselves. First off we have 3 metal figures. Here you see you have a drummer, an officer and a standard bearer. Here again you can see these are exactly how they've come straight out the pack, so they're still showing bits of flash and various other bits and pieces, but you can see they're really well detailed, decent sculpts. Here we see the back of the figures. Again, good kit, well detailed, and to be honest, proportioned as you would normally expect 28mm figures, so very much wargame proportion. And then we come to the sprues. Now there are 9 of these in total, each funny enough containing 3 figures. So you see you have the figures themselves, and then you have also attached swords. That's the front of the figure. Let's take a look at the back. Now, on the whole, the detailing on this are really good. You've got some nice crisp detailing on the figures, but it's when you look at the back that you pick up on the one, I suppose, glaring error more than anything else in this particular pack, and that is looking at the backpacks, and more importantly, the bedrolls. We'll come to that in a minute. Let's take a look at each individual figure a little bit more closely. This is the first standard kit, very much kind of campaign dress style trousers, and with the bedroll above across the top of the backpack. And then you see the next 2 figures. You see these from the front, and you have 2 figures again, pretty much campaign dress to be honest, especially with the status of the trousers. A decent sculpt, nothing majorly to write home about. But you notice that one guy has a bedroll across his shoulder in this particular picture. If we look at the next illustration, you'll see that the guy with the bedroll across his shoulder also has a bedroll on his backpack. The guy next to him has no bedroll on his backpack, but doesn't have a bedroll across his shoulder. So, I don't know about you, but it strikes me that they've put the bedroll, as in someone wearing it across their shoulder, onto the wrong figure. In this particular instance, it should have been put onto the figure on the left instead of the figure on the right, which strikes me as something that should have been picked up before the whole thing was cast. Other than that, I think the figures generally are pretty good. They're well cast, pretty well detailed. You look at the hands and they're not brilliant, but they're perfectly adequate. And especially when it comes down to the fact that I know some people have been complaining about the amount of time it takes to put miniatures together, especially some of the Victrix ones, for example. These are literally snap them off, put them down, great, job done. My other issue with this particular box set though is the fact that it's for Black Powder, and therefore I would have expected it to cater for a unit size that is kind of expected in Black Powder. Now when you base figures in Black Powder, they average that you put 4 figures onto a 40mm base. So the average number of bases of a unit are 6, making 24 figures, or potentially 8, making 32 figures. So if a unit size varies between 24 and 32 figures, with 32 figures being the maximum, why only produce a box that produces 30 figures? Now, admittedly, you could do 28, which is 7 stands. Yes, you could do 24, which is 6 stands. But you can't do 32, which is 8 stands, because you've only got 30 figures. I don't know about you, but I find that slightly strange, where basically the number of figures in the box doesn't match a particular unit size that they're selling with the game that the box set is attached to. A minor quibble, I know, but something I found interesting, shall we say. So, I must admit, on the whole, I found this particular box set somewhat underwhelming. They're pretty much one-piece models. They're all in March Attack, so there's no dynamic poses, all put together to be exactly the same thing. And in a unit of 27 figures, you only have 3 different models, so not a fantastic amount of variation. So whilst price-wise, at £17, the box set is pretty decent, a good price for the regiment. When you look at its actual variation, especially when you compare it to, let's say, Perry's that have British Line Infantry for £15, or Victrix, which have Line Infantry 52 figures for £22. It has to be said that the value for money for this particular set, I think, is actually fairly poor. Although, yeah, it's a cheap way of putting figures together at just over 50p a figure. It's really not a particularly exciting set, in my opinion. So, very disappointed with this first Napoleonic release from Warlord Games.